Welcome to the Dry Tortugas, one of the most picturesque places you've probably never heard of.
Dry Tortugas are one of the most remote parts of the United States, absolutely. You feel like a little kid exploring a magical world out there. My name is Corey Malcolm, and I am the lead historian for the Florida Keys History Center here at the Key West Library. It's amazing out there, it really is. It's hard to believe. You know, when you come from, say, from the water, from the boat, and you see the fort on the horizon, it's the first thing you're gonna see. It's like there's a castle floating out in the ocean. I mean, it's really phenomenal.
The Dry Tortugas are a chain of islands isolated in the Gulf of Mexico, about 70 miles off the coast of Key West. Though part of the state of Florida, they're only accessible by boat or seaplane. The islands are anchored by the incredible Fort Jefferson, first built in the 1840s, now the focal point of one of the least visited but most spectacular national parks in the country.
It is the largest masonry structure in the United States. It is amazingly impressive. It is so big, way out there in the middle of the ocean. It's hard to imagine how they ever did it, but they did.
And while Fort Jefferson towers above the horizon, 99% of Dry Tortugas National Park is underwater.
You have the wildlife out there. The turtles are still out there. All the seabirds are out there. All the ocean life is still out there.
Though crystal clear seas may be one of the most stunning aspects of the Dry Tortugas, it's also one of its biggest threats, as changes to our oceans over time leave a lot of uncertainty.
The Dry Tortugas are honestly extremely vulnerable. They're going to be some of the first places to go if we're not careful. You know, to lose these islands that have been there for millennia, it would just be a tragedy.
Dr. Jo Muller is an expert in climatology. As a professor and researcher at Florida Gulf Coast University, she studies environmental impacts in the Sunshine State, from the mainland to the Keys to the Dry Tortugas.
I think this is probably one of the most important conversations about what we can do if we want to persist in Florida and live here comfortably. Moving forward, like trying to preserve green spaces.
Muller says while there are a lot of unknowns and complexities in studying climate and the environment, the scientific community recognizes certain trends.
But there's a climatology that we don't fully understand, and so what we're seeing not is just warming of the ocean, but warming of the entire atmosphere all the way up to the tropopause, so the upper troposphere and even into the lower stratosphere. But we're seeing warming out there as well, and that's not good.
The environment is a focal point for many scholars at Florida Gulf Coast University, given the campus's location just miles from the Gulf of Mexico.
So in some ways, hoping that this can be a living, learning laboratory that we could say, like, well, here's some things that we figured out, and we're going to share them, and we're going to hope that communities embrace some of these ways of doing things. My name is Mary Palak-Walsh, and I'm in the Department of Communication and Philosophy.
Walsh works towards igniting conversations about our changing world in hopes of raising awareness to the realities of evolving environmental impacts.
I felt like it was really important to connect our local community to the global conversation and figure out, what are the technologies, what are the solutions, what are some things we could be doing different. If you can get the right kind of communication, that you're using language that is going to be motivational to people. And then you also talk about that there's solutions out there that they can be a part of, it can be empowering and hopeful.
Lindsay Cruz is the Science and Outreach Coordinator for the Florida Keys National Marine Sanctuary.
It's important that if we are going to impact the environment in some way, that we also take steps to responsibly manage it. And so even though you might not live somewhere, the actions that you take impact plants, animals, people, wherever you are.
Connection is a word Lindsay emphasizes in her work. Everything on this earth and in the oceans is in some way connected.
Every drop of water that touches our country and other countries ends up in a shared ocean, and all of that water moves around and circulates. And so when we are looking at water from the Florida Keys, we're looking at water that comes from Africa and South America and the Mississippi River Delta.
And maybe that water ends up here, in the dry Tortugas, a surreal place facing a very real threat. But advocates are hopeful that those who visit these incredible islands will realize they're worth protecting.
You know, the Tortugas, as remote as they are, they're still an important and a crucial part of the U.S. and really need to be more in the, the public consciousness. Naturally, they are spectacular, but historically, there are some really remarkable resources. Most importantly, the 19th century massive masonry fort, Fort Jefferson, which is an engineering marvel as well as a historical and cultural treasure.
I'm Steph Kempton reporting.